Okay, cool. Hi. So, this tutorial is going to be about ledge grabbing again, and I decided to re-record it because I'm not really happy or satisfied with the way I described it in my full tutorial about general mechanics. Alright, so ledge grabbing. Ledge grabbing is a technique you will use literally everywhere in your runs. Every time you do a jump, you can actually do a ledge grab when you climb something. And so in this game, we were blessed with the ability to crouch. And just like in most other games, like Source games, crouching reduces your hurt box. And you can do that in the air, and that results in your hurt box being shrunk together, and that lets you grab ledges that you usually could not jump up. So a good example, for example, is this box right here. So this box, even with full force jump 1, as you can see in my inputs, I'm not able to climb it directly. But when I crouch at the end of my jump with good timing, I can. And this is called a ledge grab. And since we do it with crouch, some people also call it crouch climbing. So the terms are interchangeable. Alright, so that is crouch climbing. And basically, you can crouch climb everything, but there is a downside to it. So when you crouch climb something that is too high, for example, I'm going to show you a good example is on Rogue. There's this ledge where you jump up for the easier version of the Rogue skip, so right here. And this ledge is just barely too high for you to grab it without getting a roll. See, you will always roll on this ledge. And this is slow, and sometimes it's also unwanted. For example, when I land on something that's tiny, like this box for example, and I get a roll, I have to turn my camera because a roll is uncancelable. And rolling in general is annoying, okay? So what can we do to avoid that roll? So other than have really good camera turning when you know it's coming. So the cool thing is that when you're in first person, it's impossible for you to get a roll. The only way you're gonna get a roll in first person is when you roll on somebody's head. Otherwise, when you do a simple ledge grab like this and you're in first person, it's a good way to avoid it. So when you do many ledge grabs in a row, it's generally advisable to maybe consider doing it in first person. That's, for example, what I do in my runs in Tasker 1. Another thing you can do is pull out your saber and then overwrite your animation with a saber swing. And that's going to look like this. Okay, so when you swing your saber right before you hit a ledge, it cancels the roll animation just like it would um, with first person, excuse me. You can also do this with Saber Staff, by the way, and Saber Whirl. It doesn't really matter. With Saber Whirl, you have a nice thing too, because it takes a while to do. So, for example, on Havel in Lightning Rod, you want to ledge grab, and if you do it with a saber, which is convenient since Lightning Rod kind of requires you to have a saber out of the people inside, and you just constantly do saber wars like this, you can't roll after you do these ledge grabs. Okay, so hopefully this time I didn't forget anything. If you have questions, please feel free to contact us, and good luck running the game.